All right, we're back again with Turas this week. We have Sandra; she's with us again. And this week we have two features. We have one small one and one big one, right? So
Mm-hmm.
actually, small feature was your idea. Like one
Mm-hmm.
night we are talking about it, you made a suggestion, and next morning, bam, it shows up.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about your tiny idea first?
Yeah. So my tiny idea was to take the budgeting feature, which we already have,
Uh huh.
and instead of just breaking it down by person per person, breaking it down by event. So
Mm-hmm.
how much we spend on travel, how much we spend on lodging, how much you spend on food, things like that, to give you kind of an idea as to where you're spending the bulk of
Yeah,
your
so
money on any given
but some
trip.
people might not even know. So like if you're in tourist and you go into any of those places, you can put the dollar amount
Yeah.
and that shows up in the budget panel.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can see it broken down by the number of travelers, number of days you're traveling, and then now your little idea, break it down by category. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then the big one, like you want to give a short intro to the big one. Like what's the big feature that got
The
pushed out
big
last
feature
week?
is the calendar sync. So now you can take your trip
Mm-hmm.
and sync it to Google Calendar. So everything that you have
Uh-huh.
will load onto your calendar, so you don't have to manually
But
enter it.
so you know what's funny is that this feature is also inspired by you,
Because I'm
because
amazing.
you know when I noticed like you had manually moved all of these events like into the calendar, and I was thinking
There's a
like, oh
lot
my
of
God,
them.
like are you actually going to move like all 50 things into your calendar?
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so that was
Yes, I
definitely
was.
inspired by you. But what's funny is like you walked over here this week, and I don't know what I was doing, but you looked at my inbox with like 900 unread emails, and you were just like completely disgusted by my lack of organization. But you know, it's interesting, right? Like we're total opposites
Yeah, we are.
when it comes to calendar. Like my calendar is just like completely empty, and your calendar, like you're
Yeah.
super organized in your
It's not
calendar.
completely empty. If there's something on it, I put it there
Yes,
because
yes.
that's how I function.
What's even more interesting is, you know, I ended up working at Motion and
That was
at a
hilarious.
calendaring company, and yeah, it was very very interesting.
Yeah,
But
he
let's
doesn't
talk about
calendar.
this calendar sync. Like, you know, what did you think of it? Like, you know, what's the best feature? What's the best part of it for
Yeah,
you?
so I think the best part of it is like let's say your hotel information, right? So that syncs to your calendar, you can click on it, but the notes also carry over. So your confirmation code carries
Mm-hmm.
over, the Google um, map piece carries over,
Mm-hmm.
so you have the address, all of that information. So you don't kind of have to go back and forth. Everything is in one spot.
And I think that's super handy too. Like once you're actually on your way on the trip, like everything from tourists is now just in your
Yeah.
calendar.
Yeah.
You get your normal calendar reminders. It
Yeah.
shows up on your phone.
Well,
Everything.
and I was talking about this with a friend, and she's like, "That's amazing," because usually I dig through my emails
Yeah,
and I got to search through and find where the confirmation is, and then
yeah,
find
yeah.
and like you're doing that a million times during a trip, and that just
And
is
now,
annoying.
it's just magically synced over to your calendar. The days sync over with your full itinerary. Now you have to do that effect for every bullet point here. The Your hotel stays, confirmed hotel stays, sync over. Uh, and then also what else? Anything you put it with a time will sync
The time
over
actually
to the
syncs over.
calendar. So like when you're leaving for a trip, it'll sync over, and it actually also manages the time zone. So I think that's super useful.
Yeah,
I think like when we go on our trip, we won't be in tourists on our trip. We might be in there,
maybe,
but
but not as much.
mostly it's going to be based off the
Right,
calendar, right? We're going to look at the calendar, say what's on the next day,
right.
and I think that's super useful.
Yeah, because
Because
well, I live off my
yeah.
calendar. He might
All
not,
right,
but I do.
so that's that's the last
Uh,
week. I mean, so my question now is like you've been the inspiration for so many of these features. Like, what do you think the next major feature is going to be?
Yeah,
Like
see,
what?
so here's like this is usually something that comes up like at night, and then I mention it, and it magically appears
So
the next morning.
okay,
So
so
it's not nighttime, so
you
I'm a
got to be a little
little.
bit sleepier. It's
I need
like
to be a little
yeah,
sleepier
okay,
because I'll be
okay,
like looking at things for our trip, and I'll be like,
yeah,
oh, it'd be really
yeah,
cool if it could do X,
mm-hmm,
and then X pops up in the morning.
okay,
So I'm not sure.
all right. So we'll just have to see like next time we're back here, like what the
I would have had a nighttime
yeah, okay, we'll have to come
light
back and
bulb
see.
and
what that next feature is. And if you haven't checked out Tourist, tourist.app, uh, give it a look, and if you like it, pass it on.